So, hey, Jonathan, welcome to the Clarity series. I'm so excited to have you on.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. Excited to be here.
Awesome. So, my first question is that, two businesses, one consulting, one recruiting, both solving PMM problems. What did running both teach you about why most companies can't figure out what they actually need?
Huh. Wow, that's a good question. I've never been asked that before. Um, Let me
I'm
think
glad.
about that. Let me think about that. So I guess maybe I can add some context just to answer this. So my first business is Blue Manta Consulting. We're a product marketing agency, and we tend to work with kind of mid-market or mid-sized organizations. So I classify that as like 50 to 250 million in ARR. And for those businesses, when they can't figure out what they need, it's usually because they're being pulled in like 10 different directions by either internal teams, investors, the board, or C-suite. And they really need kind of that external perspective to come in and help them figure out what customers and prospects think, what the competition's doing, and kind of where the market's headed. That's pretty different from 3AM Recruiting, which is the recruiting firm I founded with Yulin Pei, because we target early stage startups there. So in those cases, when they can't figure out kind of what they actually need, it really comes down to either not fully understanding what product marketing is, which, as you know, is super common, or not realizing what the more difficult areas of marketing are to cover. So, for example, it's much easier to outsource, let's say, ads versus positioning, right? So I think they say, okay, why don't we focus on getting someone in house for ads and let's outsource positioning? I'm like, well, you may want to reverse that for full-time roles. So those are kind of the differences.
So, my next question is that why companies today are preferring a fractional PMM over a full time hire? Like, according to you, what has changed over years, as per your experience, and why the term fractional is still misunderstood today?
Yeah, I mean, fractional product marketing is definitely more popular than ever.
Yeah.
There's a few reasons why. I think first is just kind of the macro situation, which is product marketing is just more understood and well known as a function than, say 5 or 10 years ago. So I think that's kind of number one. Number two, like the reality is that there's been a ton of layoffs, right? Over the past few years, we've seen thousands of product marketers get laid off. We know that it takes on average probably 6 to 12 months to find a full-time role. And if you're a director level or above, it takes even longer. And so product marketers have bills like every other kind of role. So a lot of them have turned to consulting. And I think the third kind of reason why fractional product marketing is so hot right now is just that fractional as a thing is really in its heyday. It started off as a kind of a strict definition of like, look, it's just C-suite that are kind of fractional for startups that can't afford a C-suite. Now I think it's kind of become more common and accepted for basically all roles, especially for short-term projects. So I think we've just seen kind of
Yeah.
a fundamental shift in how companies approach hiring and really wanting that senior level talent without necessarily having to pay full-time salaries for it.
Totally. I think a lot of job openings now have fractional, say COO or fractional CTO. I'm
Mhm.
seeing now all of these terms getting, but I think it started off with PMM only.
I think it's the opposite. I think it started off with like fractional CMOs,
Yeah.
CTOs, CROs, and then moved to PMM. Um, But yeah, I think it's just an explosion in, folks realizing they need more senior talent. I think we've all seen
Yes.
kind of, early stage startups or even late stage startups hire too junior. And then things, go to market doesn't go well. And then, they're realizing, hey, we need to hire the senior person. We don't necessarily have the budget for the senior person. So let's bring in a fractional for whatever, 3 to 6 months. They'll establish product marketing as a function. And then we'll hire the junior product marketer to kind of take the reins of the function or the foundation that's been built. And I think it's a really attractive proposition for everyone because, startups get really senior level talent helping them build things the right way. And
Yeah.
then, fractionals get, a good pay and good experience without being tied to a specific company. So I think it's a win-win for both.
Absolutely. I think project based is really cutting through right now.
Yeah, projects too. Yeah, projects are
Yeah.
huge. Um, I think with projects, I think it's a little bit different than fractional because for projects, what I see at least is for the most part, they already have a product marketing team and they
Yeah.
really need someone to come in and just tackle position messaging or just tackle pricing and packaging. That's a lot of the work my team and I do with North American and European startups, or mid-market companies, I should say. But yeah, that's a lot of what we see as well. Mhm.
Right. So every PMM thinks they would make a great consultant. Most of them are wrong. So what separate the separates the ones who can actually, can do it and versus who can't do it?
Wow, I really like how aggressive that question is. Strong
Yeah.
opinions. I hear you.
Yes.
Um, yeah, fair
Coming from
enough.
the main person himself. So yeah.
I hear you. I mean, look, I think on average, being a consultant is much more difficult than being an in-house product marketer. Um, that's just my personal opinion, having done both. But the product marketers that succeed in consulting tend to have kind of three main things I think in common. Number one, and this like when I tell folks this, like they really don't like it, especially like product marketers really don't like this. But number one is that they're great at selling, because the reality is like as a consultant, you're constantly selling to new prospects. And if you don't like selling or you're not good at it, consulting's really not for you. Um, and apart from like selling direct, like you're also selling your experiences on social or via your newsletter, your website, your podcast. Like you're always in sales mode. Um, so if you're not good at selling or you don't like selling, which I would say is, I don't know, 90% of product marketers, it's really tough to be a consultant. Um, yeah. The other part is like I think we always talk about kind of cross-functional leadership and emotional intelligence with product marketing. I think that's 100% valid for in-house roles. I think the difference is the amount of time you have goes from like, oh, 6 months to build, to build trust with your CRO versus like 30 seconds. I just got intro to a CRO in a intro call because I've been only talking to CEO, and now I have to build trust in 30 seconds and get a quick win in and build a
Yeah.
relationship. And it's like, that's really, really tough to do in 30 seconds or 60 seconds or two or three calls versus you're in-house and you have 6 months to do it, and you can get them the one pager their team needs, or you can, host that training their team needs, get that quick win in, and then build a relationship from there. Much harder to do as a consultant. I'm sure you've had similar experiences
Yes.
there.
I'm able to, yeah, relate to you. Absolutely. I agree with that.
And then I think the third one is, and this one I think most consultants forget, or sorry, most product marketers getting into consulting don't realize, is that consulting sounds beautiful. It sounds like you come in, you kind of work on projects and you get out. And the reality is like you are essentially operating a full entire business. Uh, and most product marketers aren't necessarily interested in that or good at that, because you have to be good at, content marketing, social marketing, sales, accounting, operations, management, like the whole thing. It's really running an entire business. And if that's not something a product marketer is interested in or is good at, that's a really tough kind of part for consulting. I mean, how much time it is to
Yes.
like create this podcast, for example, right? Like
Yeah,
it takes a lot of time and effort, right?
absolutely. It's not like it's just done, like, you talk and it's done. There's so much more to it
Right.
because
So
yeah, absolutely.
yeah, so I mean, if you're not interested in like the full thing of running your business, like sending invoices, sending proposals, sending follow-ups, I don't know, creating content for LinkedIn or for your podcast or for your newsletter or networking or going to events, like if you're not interested in all of that, doing that, month-to-month accounting, buying AI tools and figuring out what tools you need to run your business, um, figuring out how to invoice clients, so on and so forth. Like if you're not interested in all that, then yeah, it's really tough.
Yeah, I think so many people would be able to relate to what you're saying right now because you're doing everything end to end, whatever you're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, what does a bad PMM hire actually cost a company, not just in salary, but in everything else?
Hmm. I think the biggest cost is the negative impact the product marketing hire can have on your go-to-market. I think it's especially true in early stages, because imagine if you hire a product marketer, they're the wrong fit for whatever reason. They come in and now you're chasing the wrong segment or the wrong vertical or the wrong buyer. Or they come in and they spend 6 months with the wrong positioning and messaging. Or, and this one we see a lot, they don't actually produce anything that's helpful to the sales team. It's all like theoretical and it's all, at the strategy level, but it's not actually tangible. Um, I think any of those can really confuse buyers. They confuse the market. And what ends up happening is your go to market at best, like, there's no growth, but realistically, like it tends to stall, right? You tend to start losing even more deals. Um, you lose internal confidence in product marketing, which, oof, when you lose internal confidence in product marketing, like that's a really, really tough ship to right. It's just a really terrible situation to be in. So I think when I think about getting the hire wrong, it's not so much, oh, I'm going to spend 6 figures on recruitment, on sourcing, on getting the right person in the door, on onboarding them, on manager time, on cross-functional time and interviews, because it does take 6 figures on average. I think it's 100% of the cost of the salary is attrition. But like that is true. But I think even worse is, hey, we're sending the entire company in the wrong direction from a go-to-market perspective. Like that's even worse.
Totally. I think it's like going back a few months rather than
Right.
moving forward. Yeah.
Exactly. I think, yeah, you nailed it. Like you're literally taking the entire company, you're regressing backwards
Yeah.
versus
Yeah.
moving forward. And, can you overcome that? Yeah, of course. But do you want to waste like 6 figures and 6 months? Probably not, right? It's probably better to just, be more tightly honed in on what the right hire is for this stage and what you need, versus making the wrong one.
Totally. So we're doing something new this season. It's called Hot Take or Hard Truth. I'm gonna throw a few statements at you, and you gotta tell me that is it a hot take? Like, would people push back at it, or is it a hard truth? Something that's not told out aloud.
Okay, sure. Sounds good.
Awesome. Let's get into it. So the first one is most B2B SaaS companies hire their first PMM at least 12 months too late, and the damage is already done. Is it a hot take or a hard truth?
Um, I think that's a hot take. Like, I think the damage is more done when they hire the wrong PMM, like we just talked about. Like if you wait too long, like yes, you're going to miss out on exponential growth. Yes, you're going to have some seriously bad missteps because you're not going to have product marketing there to kind of ensure consistency, to get the right positioning, messaging, etc. But it's not usually a deal breaker. I think it's more hiring the wrong PMM is probably a worse situation.
Totally. So the second one is a PMM who can't influence without authority is just an expensive copywriter. Hot take or hard truth?
Oh, that's a good one. I think that's a hard truth. Like, product marketing is pretty much useless if you can't actually influence cross-functional teams to buy in. You can build the most beautiful positioning messaging or the best pitch deck ever, and if your sales team won't use it, or your marketing team won't run a campaign, or your product team won't build aligned to the positioning, basically doesn't matter. So yeah, definitely a hard truth. It's a tough one, but yeah,
And the last one is the best PMM hire for an early stage company is almost never the candidate with the most impressive resume. Hot take or hard truth?
ooh, that is definitely a hard truth. So many founders think that they should hire a product marketer with like the big logos on their resume. I always hear the same thing, like I want to know the logos on the resume. Um, in most cases, for early stage startups, those are not the right hires. You need someone with early stage experience who can come in and build from scratch. Um, and again, like I'm not saying they can't succeed, but 9 times out of 10, for the person with early stage experience is probably the better fit. So yeah, definitely a hard truth. I see that so much. It's very, very common.
Even in consultancies, I think even you would be seeing that with big logos, people have some tremendous expectations and something which is very something different but doesn't align to what you want.
For sure. I mean, look, like
Yeah.
there's no doubt that managing 50 different products across, I don't know, 5 million or 10 million users and, thousands of companies, like that's difficult. That's complex. There's a lot to think about how your portfolio messaging works, so on and so forth. But that's very, very different than a startup that has, I don't know, 50 customers and 500 users. Like it's a very different reality. And
Yeah.
at that level, at that stage, if you're at Meta or if you're at Netflix or if you're at Google, like you have not just the brand, but you have the entire scaffolding of the company that tells you, hey, we need to get from point A to point B. Here's how I want you to do it. Go execute. Versus if you're at a startup, you not only have to define point B, but you also have to define how you're going to get there, what you're going to do about it, how you're going to measure success. Like you're starting from scratch. And so, again, not saying it's impossible. I mean, I'm a hypocrite. I've worked at large Fortune 500s and at startups and everything in between. Um, but yeah, for the most part, I'd say yeah, it's much more preferable to get someone who has that early stage experience for an early stage company.
Totally, because at startups, we're wearing not only one hat, but more than five, six hats at the same time. And you cannot say no to anything.
Exactly. And so if
Yeah,
you're not saying no to anything, like, that means you have to have skill sets in more than just product marketing. So many early stage product marketers do a little bit of growth, do a little bit of social, do a little bit of content. Content, I think, is probably the most common one, right? Um, or maybe you're managing an ad agency, right, or demand gen agency. So like, it's just a different beast, and that's okay. Like, we're not comparing. We're not saying one is better than the other. We're just saying they're different, right? Like, maybe you're a great sushi chef, and you're not so great at cooking steak. Like, fair enough. Like, they're different, right? It's not one is better than the other. So,
totally. Thank you so much, Jonathan. This was so amazing.
thanks for having me. This was fun.